Welcome to Tailor Made Chaos. On this podcast, we'll bring you some of the highest flyers and most interesting people in and around the fitness industry. We'll talk and laugh with CEOs, franchisee groups, exercise specialists, and to those who work in sales and marketing, and will share their insights and knowledge of all things related to the business of fitness. Love what you hear? Make sure you like and subscribe to keep up to date. On with today's show, proudly brought to you in conjunction with Fit Into Shape, a small but dedicated team of fitness industry professionals, delivering on all of your fitness equipment and gym design needs.
3, 2, 1. Welcome to another episode of Tailor Made Chaos. I'm your host, known by one of my listeners as Captain Chaos, Glenn Taylor. Today, I'd like to welcome another veteran of the, in italics, fitness industry. We'll talk about that later on, Scott Hunt. So before we get to the pun on the fitness industry, Scott, I know you've had some similar experiences to me, but are you finding it's tough getting older?
I haven't aged at all. I mean, my maturity level's still like down at 15 years of age, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, well, mate, I feel the same, but you know, I feel like it's getting tough. I mean, last week I was in an antique store and they wouldn't let me leave. Yeah. Luckily, I got to sneak away and ready here for today's podcast. So, without any further ado, I'd like to get on with it. So, tell me, who is Scott Hunt?
Yeah, well, I guess from a business fitness industry point of view, fitness enhancement and fit your ability, I've been doing that for 25 years. So, pretty much is who I am because I've been doing that since I was 19. Fitness enhancement, we're now a national franchise personal training company. Fit your ability is our more recent side, although still 6 years in, and we're Australia's largest NDIS registered personal training company.
Okay, wonderful. That's you today in a nutshell. Scott, one of the interesting things I've heard you say before is the fitness industry is about getting fit people getting fitter. Mm-hmm. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Yeah, the reality is that there's so many gyms out there that do an amazing job, and our industry's come so far, and we're so much more diverse when it comes to what the fitness industry is. A gym's no longer just a gym, but the reality is so much of it, you still have to be able to physically and intellectually walk through a door and figure out how to use a machine by yourself. Well, you can't go. And so when a gym, and I'm using that as a generalised term to cover everyone, we're not all gyms, right? But when a gym says, we cater to everyone, but there's 4.3 million Australians have a disability. That's a government statistic. So that sounds high, I know. Everyone says that's a government statistic. There's a huge portion of those people who simply cannot go through there. So, and then if we add in seniors, people morbidly obese, people with various mental health issues, there's a massive amount of our population who desperately need the help the most from the fitness industry, but at least likely to ever reach out to the fitness industry for help. So that's what I mean by that.
Cool. Well, Matt, it's obviously a pretty interesting perspective, and you know, it's very hard to disagree with that and that passion. And I suppose I want to kind of get people to understand where that passion comes from. So, Matt, let's go back to the beginning. Where'd you grow up? What was school like? Tell me about little Scott Hunt.
Little Scott Hunt. Well, I'm 6'5" now, so it was a long time ago. So I've been that tall since I was about 15. So little Scott Hunt, born in Gisborne, country Victoria, outskirts of Melbourne. It's not so country nowadays, but yeah, I lived there till I was about 12 years of age. Regular kid living on acreage and grandparents on a farm and just regular childhood. Then we ended up actually moving to Holland and then Singapore and then the Gold Coast where I am now. So Dad was pilot, late 80s, airline dispute, a lot of pilots wound up overseas and so on. We did too. Some loved it, some didn't. I didn't, but anyway, maybe who I am today. Yep. And then, so we travelled around a lot with that, which, you know, probably wasn't my ideal way of doing it, but landed me on the Gold Coast eventually when I was 16, so I've been here ever since, so I'm pretty happy with that
you
end
were
result.
12 when you first went overseas.
Yep, correct.
You kind of went through that primary school and then bam, your whole life got uprooted and you said you went to Holland.
Our family's life as well, you know, the living the dream, as I'm sure my whole family would have agreed with that, and then went all uprooted overseas, just tiny little box house with, you know, Dad trying to find a job which is wreaks havoc on everyone. So, and again, some people love that, that crazy adventure of it. Some people don't.
Yeah.
I was one who didn't. So,
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you and I are probably polar opposites in that respect. It sounds like obviously an amazing experience, but being as a 12-year-old kid, I think that's a very different way to look at it.
Yep.
So you went over to Holland.
Yeah.
Tell me what was Holland like, and how long were you there for?
2 years there. I was pretty excited to get fireworks, so that was a good start. Not to mention other things there.
Yep.
But no, jokes aside, there were absolutely some amazing parts about it, but it was more I had a variety of schools. Going into an all Dutch-speaking school was a very introverted kid who did not speak Dutch. Probably not the best thing, but it was just the way it was. So I wound up having, across 5 years, I had 9 schools. So not recommended, but so be it. It's worked out well in the end.
So building friendships, did you find building friendships to be easy, or did you find it was challenging at that point in your time?
It's always challenging. I think even if you are an extroverted kid, having that much change in those years is going to be trickier. But I've still got good friends from overseas, from Singapore on holidays to this day. So that's great. So.
And you were introvert, extrovert?
Introvert, well and truly.
Introvert, yeah. Oh, good. So obviously, as you say, challenging whether you're introvert or extrovert, but it does take a bit to kind of engage with new kids. And then a bunch of other schools. You moved from Holland to Singapore?
Holland to Singapore, because that's where then the next job was. Yep. And Dad worked all over the world, of course, that type of thing. So we were there for 3 years.
And this was mid-80s, yeah?
90s,
early 90s.
So it'd be 88 till 90. Not 89 to 94 or something, I think it was. Okay. Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Yeah, right.
So, very different place back then.
Yeah, I've been recently over there and was hearing some of the history of Singapore. Yeah. It's incredible to see the development and the way things have gone, but I find I'm more interested in history now now that I'm part of history than what it was when I was in school. Yeah. So you ended up back here, and you ended up on the Gold Coast.
Yep.
Okay, so 16-year-old kid.
Worked out pretty good in the end. Yep.
Worked out pretty good in the end. We'll get to the end. Everyone wants to jump to the end. So 16-year-old kid, what were you into? Sports? Were you into computers?
So before about 15 years of age, I was into probably nothing, maybe video games, and that was about it. That was the era of the Nintendo coming out, and that was huge, right?
Yep.
So it's, but I was into probably nothing major really until about 15, and this is where I guess my fitness journey began. I actually took up windsurfing in Singapore, which sounds like a random thing to do in Singapore, but it was as a school sport for some reason. Still got some really good friends from back in those days there, and that's really what started everything really, getting out in a very crowded, claustrophobic city that wasn't as welcoming maybe as it should have been to a 15-year-old expat. Yep. So getting out, flying across the water was literally what started changing everything.
It was your escapism.
Really. Yeah, absolutely. And to this day, still kiteboard nowadays because you need less wind and you can jump higher. But so I've got on and off for 30 years of that now. So yeah,
fantastic. So, and did you get into the competitive side of it? Is that what kind of fueled that, or it was just the escapism that really attracted you?
I don't know. It's hard to know. Back in those days, I did compete and competed quite a bit in Singapore, and was actually ranked number 4 for under 21s in Singapore. Okay. When I was 16 or something, I think it was.
Pretty great achievement.
Yeah, but small niche sports ball country. I will skip that disclaimer though. So,
no.
But I was full on into it.
Mate, I'd have it in my CV for sure. So you continued on with that sport, as you said.
Yeah, pretty much. And that's when I then got into fitness. That was a natural progression to then get into fitness. And our apartment complex had a little gym, and I started going with a mate. And back then there was no fitness industry in Singapore at all. Okay. So we were just finding these weird second-hand bodybuilding magazines and putting on a Metallica and doing everything wrong as the only people in the entire complex had ever used a gym.
In that case, you were doing everything right because there was nobody to tell you what you were doing wrong.
Exactly.
So, I'm starting to obviously already sense a pattern of you as a younger kid not being guided, that getting guidance from people seems to be a path that you kind of have naturally headed down. So you ended up relocating to Australia and you're into your surfing. You finished school here?
Yep, finished school, so 97 I think it was?
Yep.
Losing track, yep.
Mm-hmm. And what happened after school?
Yeah, so at that point I was already sort of fairly entrepreneurial, just very creative, entrepreneurial sort of person. And of course, that's back in the area where entrepreneur was a dirty word, right? So, and especially
Well, it's called a business owner back then.
well, Dad's an airline pilot too, right? You buy the book as you can get. You don't.
You follow
you play it
procedure,
safe, you
yeah.
follow procedure. That's basically it for him. So, so that was a natural thing. Is be a real adult, go to uni, get a safe job type thing. So did that, did business with a major in sports management, but then pretty much at the start of that, started personal training qualifications too. Of course, back in like 1998, that was pretty much unheard of.
Yep.
And it was just, well, let's face it, the qualification side of PT is still not the same as university, right? So it's still, that's a level down, but did both. That was a compromise. Okay.
So
I
did
can
you
do a
get a
PT course.
qualification?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Who did you go through?
I did. It was National Fitness College,
Okay.
I think.
Yep.
Not the National College of Fitness. Yeah, not the one that's around now. Different name. Everyone's got similar names. I'm losing track now.
Yeah.
Over the years.
No, that's fair enough. Too.
Long gone.
I'm not checking your
actually losing
accreditation
track.
here.
No, it's a different name to the one around now. So similar, just different order. So I did that, and then that was then start a business, right? And so I literally
So I think I heard once you'd said you started the business with $400.
Yeah,
and
$400.
Kicked it off.
Literally had $400 from my what I now call market research. I was a Domino's delivery driver, so it's good market research for the industry.
Yep.
Had $400. Had worked at Wet n Wild as a lifeguard too, and pretty much that was it. Started the business, made my cards. We're talking long. I mean, obviously the internet was around, but it wasn't what it is today.
No.
I'm talking making my own business cards, getting my shirts printed, making some leaflets, and then just giving it a go. But by that stage too, as the other, I guess, defining point, I'd gotten involved in Muay Thai when I was about 16. So when we came back to Australia, I always wanted to do a real martial art, not a fluffy count to 10 in a language martial art.
Yeah.
One where you kind of,
And do you
cut
think,
out the crap and it's a real martial art.
do you
So
think that was because of your experience in Singapore that you
probably,
wanted to?
yeah. Look, I've always been very much if I do something, I do it right and I do it full on, and I don't like hypocrites, I don't like bullies.
Yep.
And so to me, I felt a lot of having an interest in martial arts. I did a lot of martial arts, but I always gravitated toward Muay Thai because it's so honest as to what happens.
Yeah.
The best person wins. The best person does that. There's no fluff about, in theory, this move would work. There's no katas or forms or anything like that. And it's very honest as to what it is. The person who works the hardest and wants it the most is normally going to do the best.
So 16 to start martial arts, and obviously a lot of moving around. Was there some underlying reasons? Was there some bullying?
I got bullied a fair bit as a kid. So I mean, a 6'5", 15-year-old
Stood out in the crowd. They always want to bring the tall poppy down.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And it's pretty easy to do it when it's an introverted kid. So it's it wasn't the best time, but it's maybe I am today. So be it. So I think that was part of it, but I think it wasn't even about self-defense so much. I've never I've been receiving into stuff. I've never been a fight outside of a boxing ring. I've had fights in the ring, of course, but it's not my style. It's more just like I said, I don't know. I find most people bullies are soft people. They're weak people. They don't have the guts to it one-on-one.
Yeah.
And whether it be putting your money where your mouth is and starting a business, or starting a martial art, or getting in a ring, or running a marathon or whatever. You run a marathon, everyone sees your time. They all know what your time is. There's no hiding. Your time is the honesty system.
It's good.
And so I run marathons too, because it's like, everyone's equal on that day. So
accountability seems to be a big trait that you seem
exactly.
pretty hard on.
And don't make excuses. Don't blame other people, and don't take out on others if you're having a bad day, really.
Yeah. Well, I often say in terms of my fighting capability, I won my last fight by 50 metres. The problem is I'm getting slower with age, so I may have to come up with another way to overcome them. So, mate, we're obviously back in Australia. I know we're dancing around a bit, but I love to
get the
hear
broad picture.
how people become who they become. So, so you're back in Australia. You're doing Muay Thai. You've done your fitness course and you finished your degree at this stage, or you were doing your
So
degree
here's the
at the
funny
same
thing.
time?
I like to say I have a 9-year university degree. It makes me sound super smart.
Right.
No, I took 9 years to a 3-year university degree.
Brilliant.
So I was full time at the start, and then went part time, and then deferred as the business had kicked off. And to be honest, I didn't. It was business sports management, but again, back to liking the real deal and the raw thing. Uni's theory, it's not practice.
Yep.
And I think it's important to have that theory, and it's definitely helped me get where I am to have my degree. But there are so many people teaching a subject, and by the time I sort of went back, I had 5 years. I had my physical studio open. I had 5 or so years fitness industry experience of owning a business. I had more business experience than some of the people teaching me at uni.
Yeah.
Not that I was that experienced at all, nor
Yeah.
that successful, but I'm getting lectured by someone in entrepreneurship who's never owned a business.
Got it.
And so that was sort of, again, it's important. I'm pleased I did it. I'm pleased when I finished it, but it's not, it's just one small part of where it's gotten me today.
So do you feel like you did that degree to appease your father, or you did have
No,
a genuine
not
interest
really.
in
They
doing it?
were supportive. I mean, they didn't really see the whole, necessarily the PT thing kicking off, which is completely fair enough, because I was teaching Muay Thai by that stage too. So, I mean, I make a living out teaching people to beat people up. Doesn't probably go down well. Joke's on them, though. It's worked out pretty good. And my mum still trains here, so there you go. So does my mother-in-law, so there you go.
So for those who don't know, and obviously we are on video, but for those who are listening on audio, today we're sitting in your studio fitness enhancement at Nerang.
Yep.
How long have you been in this studio for?
About 20 years now. Yeah.
Okay, and this was the first physical
Yep.
premises?
Yeah,
Okay,
so
and-
basically 5 years into being a mobile PT and saving. I opened a physical location.
Yeah, brilliant. So for 5 years you were teaching the Muay Thai where?
Yeah, so I was running out of the Nerang PCYC, renting the boxing gym by the hour, teaching that, and I was teaching sort of a beginner's class and a fighter's class, and sort of grew, and I was fighting myself there and had a bunch of fighters under me too. And then I was running my PT out of their little gym or doing mobile sessions around the place.
Awesome.
And that was back in the days where I think I did have a website in '99 when I started the business, which would make it, I reckon, one of the first personal training websites in the country, I reckon, for 1999.
I think it was, there'll be some good history on how your website has become such an integral part of your business
Yep.
now by
Yeah,
starting
absolutely.
at that
It's
early.
it's a really important thing. You don't get a much older website than the same year Google was started. So that really helps with our Google rankings too. But I was always very focused on the business and the marketing and the growth and stuff like that. Not that it showed in results, because it's tough going when you've got no knowledge, no experience. You can't even just Google that stuff on the internet back then.
Google didn't
And
exist.
I'm doing a uni degree that was anything businessy, was talking about multi-million-dollar businesses,
Yep.
not one with a capital investment of $400. so it was just making my own leaflets, walking street to street, delivering them. Of course, it's a funny thing too, as an introvert, we know how important sales is, yet I wasn't the one to randomly go up and chat to all the strangers going, "You want to hire a PT?"
Yeah.
It's the last thing I'd do back then.
Yeah.
So,
So it was a lot of discomfort that you had to overcome to lead to the element of success that you've been
yeah,
able to
but it
build
was just
yourself up to.
always, I guess you go, well, what do you want more? Do you want to feel a little bit of discomfort, or do you want to fail? I'd rather feel a little bit of discomfort and hopefully succeed.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
you're
Well,
going to have to do one or the other.
I think there's a lot of learning in that.
Yep.
And you know, there's some tools that we have at our disposal now, but even that discomfort, there are a lot of people, myself included, who didn't like being on camera. They didn't want their face to be the head of a business, and I think overcoming discomfort is
Absolutely. It's so big. It's so big, and that's the thing, right? I mean, seeing speak at conferences and so on, I can comfortably go out there and speak at those conferences now. Wouldn't have dreamed of it however many years back.
Yeah.
But you just push further and further and further, and just like that person who can't run a step, and then one day they're hopefully running a marathon, you just take one step at a time and you keep pushing through it. You have highs and lows, and you just push through it. And it's hard, but it hurts more if you fail, to me. So
Yeah, brilliant.
yeah.
So we kind of fast forward 5 years, you get this first premises,
Yep.
and it's now the home of fitness enhancement and Fit Your Ability.
No, we've got a few journeys there.
Good.
Fitness enhancement one side. So
Yes.
fitness enhancement one side, final contact Muay Thai is the other side.
Yep.
The friendly side and the not so friendly side.
Okay.
Realising that, I love my Muay Thai side of it. But that just scares off the target market for fitness enhancement, which is always let's help people who can't or won't go to a gym. So yeah, literally two separate entrances.
So they were a
same
dichotomy.
business. Yeah, exactly. And there's this select group of maybe 10% of people who love both, but most people love fitness enhancement or they love final contact. Most people don't do both. There's a very small select people who'd want one-on-one Muay Thai from a personal trainer, for example.
Yeah. So how did you get from that to where you are now? What kind of happened to those two aspects?
Sure, so let's keep growing, building, bigger and bigger, took on some staff members, started growing more, had plenty of, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, or sometimes 3 steps back, so on. And it was always on that strict, tight budget. When I opened it, I didn't even have dumbbell racks, I'd line them all up on the floor. So it was slowly getting to a stage where we could actually have something professional as well.
Yep.
And then, we wound up with probably, trying to do my maths on time now. So it would have been, 2004, I think, I opened the studio. By maybe 2008 or something, we then had sort of pushed into mobile training as well. He was completely booked out of the personal training business. So I had, I guess, 5 years here, but 10 years in business.
Yep.
By that stage, we were the biggest PT company on the Gold Coast, completely booked out of the studio. The natural progression was, it's too expensive to open up more studios, let's push into mobile.
Yep.
By that stage, people actually didn't like the mobile training idea. Not because we were any better or anything like that whatsoever, but they went, you're a professional organisation. I'm going to trust Australians coming into my home now. Whereas when I guess it wasn't so much I was 19, I always looked older than I was, so I could kind of pull it off.
Yeah.
But when I was 19, it was this random one-man show coming into someone's private home. I was just as trustworthy, just as honest, just as everything back then, less experienced, but the same credible person I am now.
Yeah.
People didn't want that random person coming into their home, nor training his wife when he was at work. So,
Well, I think it was generally the industry was quite new in that late 90s, early 2000s.
That was part of it, but that's when it probably boomed on the Gold Coast with PTs popping up everywhere in the early 2000s. But it wasn't so much that, it was more the fact that they then went, you're a credible physical location who has mobile PTs come out.
Got it.
And you look at the like any other business, right? Do you want, you hire a security company, whatever. Do you want the one-man show with a sticker on the back of his car, or do you want the well-accredited place who's established, who has a brand behind them, has all those different things?
Yeah,
if all things created equal, do you want to choose the more credible one or the less credible one? Not to say that both people aren't quality people, but there's that perception, and I think that marketing angle is really important to do that. So that's really what we've continued to build on with the marketing side of it. Of then growing and really staying true to that as well. So that's seen us grow then to, we end up having like trainers all across the Gold Coast, most of Brisbane, working direct for me. And that would have been, 2008 to 2014 or something.
Okay.
We're pretty huge in that respect.
Yep.
The biggest problem, of course, was staffing. How can you get people treated like their own business? It's really hard.
And is that what led to the concept of franchising?
Franchising, absolutely. And this is long before the NDIS. For any people who know me as the NDIS guy, this is long before any of that was even invented. The NDIS did not exist back then.
No,
so,
it didn't.
So I'll get to that in a sec, because some people don't realise my backstory on that. It was, especially as someone who's very passionate, very loyal to my clients, very loyal to my staff, I hate someone saying they're going to do something and not doing it. That was a real struggle when I had staff let me down.
Yeah.
And still is sometimes if people don't do the right thing. That's, as I said to our franchisees, if I'm stressing more about your business than you, we've got a big problem. You should stress more about your business than me. I should still stress about it.
Yeah.
You should be more stressed than me because your business.
Makes a lot of sense.
Now I'm old enough to just bluntly say it, right? but I tried to probably make everyone happy back then, which would definitely be a mistake, as opposed to saying how I felt.
Yeah.
So that was the progression to franchising is, let's get more people who are more passionate about it, more driven, more wanting to put some skin in the game. That was it.
Yeah. So essentially you created a career path though for the trainers who would come to you and leave. You've now created that opportunity for them to stay in the business. Is that?
Yeah, that was it, because we had people who, my longest serving trainer I've ever had work with me is 14 years. And we've had lots of people be with us for 10 years. Some have always stayed in a job with me, some have left and opened a franchise, some we've met and it's been a franchise from day one. It's given that career path, because that's the thing as a PT, right? if you've got a job, one of the very few jobs that are out there, because most of the industries kind of forces business ownership on people, it's a job that's got not that much progression. At best, you might be the manager of your little local studio, but most likely you're getting paid pretty average pay because, let's face it, it's not a high-paying job most of the time, and there's no real career progression. And so then the person not dedicated, they just stay in there and just cruise along, and that's probably not the best person to be helping your clients. The person who is really dedicated and long-term committed, but they leave and they go and do something else. Typically, they leave the industry altogether. So that was the problem I had too. We were losing good people. So it was like, how do we keep good people was the biggest part of it. If I'm struggling on sort of controlling people on the Gold Coast, especially being mobile when you don't see people face to face, how am I going to do that across the country? Because that was always the goal, was to grow big and do something, have a real impact on the whole country. So it was just a natural progression that I probably thought about for a good 5 years before actually doing it. And then, we did it from there.
So you come across as a person who makes fairly considered decisions. How did you decide franchising was the right vehicle to do it?
Yeah, so I do make very considered decisions. I'm a slow mover in some areas. People look at the size we are now and they go, well, that's huge, but it's taken 2.5 decades. So I'm actually slow at a lot of things because I won't do it unless I'm 100% on something. So really was sort of going, well, what's the next step from here? We're making great money, we're making a huge impact on people, but by this stage I moved on from Muay Thai. My wife and I had our first kid. It was just, I wasn't progressing in Muay Thai. Other places were progressing, I wasn't, which meant I felt like I was going backwards in that side. So it was time to move on from that. It was time to go big and make a real impact. And I was like, well, do we open up more local Gold Coast studios or do we franchise? And that was, my wife and I involved in that decision, of course. And franchising was, well, we can make an impact on the whole country, not just one city. So that was what that was.
So you remain as the sole owner of the group, or you and your wife? You weren't tempted to take on investment or partners in that franchising area?
I've had various offers over the years, and look, the right person, the right way, the right dollars, certainly something I consider, but, clearly I like my control on things, not in a bad way, but it would always have to be focused on that right focus and that passion and everything being looked after correctly around that. So, but I guess in recent years we've been at that size and success for that, and the years before that, well, it was just a thriving local business basically, not the sort that would then go and do that.
So that thriving local business obviously had to tip a lot of money back into getting itself franchise ready. I mean, what were the sort of costs involved, roughly speaking, to make that happen?
It was expensive, but it was probably less than half the price of what anyone else would have paid, because I was so structured, so systemised, so well run with everything already. Not as well run as I'd like to be clear. I'm always looking at going, oh my God, we've got to fix this and this and this the whole time. I still am to this day. But from anyone from the outside looking in, it was like, well, this is done, it's structured, it's systemised, it's tried, it's proven. So a lot of that saved a lot for it. So I had a franchise consultant, had a franchise lawyer, still use the same guy today. So good long-term relationships were important to us, and then it was pushing down that route. And then of course it's growing from there. Our first franchise, he is still with us, been with us for over 10 years now.
So the first franchise was 2014, is that right?
2014,
And where's that franchisee now?
Melbourne.
Melbourne?
Yep, still with us. He's,
he's mobile?
Yep, he's mobile. His wife is a PT as well. They met through the business as well. So,
He made the sin, did he? Good man. At least he married us.
Exactly. 2 kids. So
brilliant. Look, I think we've all had our area of there, but we won't get into that.
Well, I met my wife at a free kickboxing lesson, so we'll say that.
I was almost going to ask, how did I meet your wife? And I thought maybe I better not go down that.
That's actually a funny story. I met her. I was running the Gold Coast Uni, the Griffith Uni kickboxing club. I was sort of helping run it with my trainer, and she was fencing was her background, so she was running the Gold Coast Uni fencing club.
Right.
So all the jokes about swords flew and kicks flew. And
I know it's tailor-made chaos, but I'm going to leave this untouched.
So there's always been shared interest there in that sort of respect.
Brilliant. Well, I mean, obviously, So your first franchisee is still with you. You seem to do a lot more in the mobile space.
Yep.
I think you said
Yeah,
the
we really
studios
just
were
over
quite
time,
expensive.
that's the thing. I think we certainly looked at doing a lot more in studios, and because that's when boutiques all started kicking off and so on. But reality is most PTs are a bit broke, right? They could maybe afford a mobile business, they couldn't afford a bricks and mortar studio business. That's the reality of it. A lot of our franchisees have come to us, just like Matt, our first guy, who have been great PTs, great people, very mediocre business owners. Couldn't make it work. They tend to not have hundreds of thousands of dollars laying around to open a physical studio.
What also tends not to be in the personality of good trainers. I mean, if you get into personality profile and you're in that belief structure, a lot of the trainers don't have those characteristics of being fantastic at either A, selling themselves, or B, having that business acumen to succeed. So I think having a franchise is probably a good system
and that's
for them.
it. Everyone knows their own lane and stays in it, right? That's it. They're normally great people and great, really awesome people. But it doesn't mean you're great at doing the accounts or the marketing or any of those things. And now, thankfully, we're at a size where I don't have to do everything, and I've got people who can do things in business better than me. And I can then focus on what I'm best at and just oversee the other stuff. So,
well, I recently heard it summarised best, I think, is do what you do best and delegate the rest. And, and I actually really like that mentality. I think
totally, and that's totally the case. But the tough thing is when you don't have the resources or the money or the people, how do you do that?
That's right.
And whether it be me at 19 or any of our franchisees or potential franchisees considering to come on board, that's it. Well, how do you do that? You can go. It's great to hire an awesome marketing company. But it's going to cost money. Nowadays, at least you can do so much for free yourself with so much great stuff out there, but it's going to cost time and effort. So you've got to pay the price somewhere to actually get to that next level. So with us, we're going, well, partner with us. Let's be business partners. You do what you do great, we'll do what we do great. That's, sometimes a franchising word doesn't have the best name, but that's first and foremost what it is. We're business partners in it together. Franchising is just a legal term that we have to use around it.
Makes a lot of sense. So Scott, some people do know, obviously, and have heard around what you're doing with Fit Your Ability. Tell me, how did this sort of evolve?
Yeah, so like any entrepreneurial person, you try and use services, you add them on. Some work, some don't. So becoming NDIS registered was a natural step because we're always inclusive. We always have clients with disabilities, and it was, wow, let's add on this amazing new thing called the NDIS. This should be awesome. And it was. normally I add new things onto the business, and it's anywhere from terrible to good. This was awesome. Okay. Lots of struggles, lots of hurdles, lots of costs around it, but I could see the end result. So this was 2018. It would have been that we started down that process. Okay. NDIS registered by 2019. We're registered for personal training. There's very few NDIS registered personal training businesses out there to this day still. It's an absolute minority of them. And we did good straight away. I say good, not great, because of all the headaches associated with it. It's not just a matter of whacking on NDIS registration and getting easy government money. It doesn't work. The reason it worked for us, we're already at a size where we could afford to do it, had the people in place to help do it. If it was my business 10 years earlier, I wouldn't have been able to do it. Wouldn't have been able to do it at all. Yeah. But we had that size, and of course the nature of our business, we were already helping clients with disabilities. It was a minority, but we still had them, and we're always going, how can we help more people who are never going to step foot in a gym? And that was that natural step.
Yeah. So at that point in time, you were fitness enhancement, but you just
fitness enhancement, NDIS registered personal trainers. It's a bit of a mouthful. Yep. And very quickly we started to realise that it needs to be its own brand. It needs to be bigger. It needs to not be the fitness industry, because as much as we're very inclusive, we all get tarred with that same meathead brush to some extent. Yeah. And all the disability support organisations and support coordinators and plan managers just naturally think of that, especially if they're not fitness lovers themselves. Yeah. So that's where the name Fit Your Ability came in.
Yeah, because I noticed on your website, there's obviously a lot of similarities with fitness enhancement and Fit Your Ability, but it seems like the vocabulary and the wording is quite different. Tell me why.
I like it. The best analogy I can think of that people in the fitness industry understand is like you've got Les Mills, and then you've got all the different programs underneath it, right? Now, if someone loves body combat, they just see it as body combat. They don't see it as Les Mills, they see it as body combat. But they're all different programs, they all have very unique identities and unique brands, and can probably stand alone as an amazing program. But they all complement each other. Not one is damaging the other.
Got it.
So that's where I see us like that. We've got essentially two brands, two slightly different target markets, two slightly different views, but the same values, the same integrity, and so on. You know, the old analogy is that's why Apple could go into making telephones, right? Because it all values with the brand. So
No, it makes a lot of sense. And I think, though, probably the language and the vocabulary is also for the target audience is quite important, right?
Exactly. Yeah, people want to see a website and go, or speak to someone on the phone and go, oh my God, it's like they're speaking to me. That's just exactly what I wanted. It's like they're speaking to me.
Yeah.
If you have a website that says, we specialise in busy people who hate gyms, disability, which is basically our biggest two things, seniors, Muay Thai, whatever else, you're jack of all trades, master of none.
Got it.
But if we have two brands and then two different trainers and two different everything, you can be a jack of all trades and, well, maybe not all trades, some trades, and a master of many.
So your franchisees today, if they're a franchisee of Future Ability, they're also
they have both,
a franchisee
yeah. So that's
of
the
Fitness
thing.
Enhancement.
So it was just a natural progression where, well, hey, we add on, no different to any franchise system, adding new items to a menu. We had a new item on the menu, NDIS registration. It's a natural thing. They got it. It's at the stage where if we wanted to have it separate, we could, but why would we? Our franchisees have pledged their loyalty and their dollars to us. We've done the same. Why would we not give that to them and just automatically give it to them? Some franchise brands do that. They have different competing, I'll say not competing, I believe competing two coffee shop brands that are different target markets, one beside the other in a shopping centre. They say they're not competing. Ask the franchisee if they are.
Yep.
We didn't want to do that. I don't think ethically it's the right way to do it. I don't think strategically it's the right way to do it too. So it's just a natural thing. Everyone does naturally then had fitability if they wanted to go down that route and add on that service, I guess, to the business. And that's been great. And that's one of the reasons we still have so many long-term franchisees is we've always, looked after them. They look after us. And it's, I guess, shared values there.
Yeah. So Scott, you've obviously got a lot on your plate, but I keep sensing there's this and I don't like the word entrepreneur, but if I was thinking of what encapsulates an entrepreneur, I think it's yourself. You're constantly looking at business opportunities. What's the next 5 years for Scott Hunt?
Well, I guess I am an entrepreneurial person, except for the fact that I've pretty much done the one thing and nothing else. So I like to, if it's working for me, just keep doubling down and get better and better and better at it and be awesome at what you're good at, rather than just jumping from ship to ship. I think to me, entrepreneurial people, it's a bit too, they jump to the next shiny object.
Yeah.
I'm very slow and considered with it, as you said. So the next thing is to really build from where we are. So the other big stepping stone we had with that, we became registered for core supports in NDIS about 3 years ago when we did the Fitability name as well. And what core supports essentially means is we're a disability support company as well now. We're the only fitness company, business association in the industry who has registered for those. So that's been really huge because it really connects the disability sector and the fitness sector within what we do, because that was the classic thing is people, the disability sector doesn't trust the fitness industry for the reasons we can think of.
Yeah.
So we need to be as close to them as possible, and then purely from a financial point of view, it's very hard to get funding for personal training, because intrinsically if you don't need to lose weight, the government goes, well, what, you don't need a personal trainer. Remembering we're the industry that got shut down in COVID because it's not essential to exercise with a professional anyway.
Yeah.
Essential outdoors on your own, non-essential with professional indoors, right? So we all remember the ridiculousness there, and I feel that's the same kind of way the NDIS almost sees it too. So for us being a support worker company where we can have a support worker helping someone with their life skills, their life goals, their social companionship, being out in the community, and then adding in an element of personal training and fitness to it, because we're also qualified personal trainers, that's been really, really huge for us. So,
because you were able to trade through COVID, weren't you?
Yes and no.
Yes.
So I'm on the Gold Coast, so we didn't cop it so bad in Queensland, but if we talk more about our Melbourne people, in theory, we could have still done the support work ones, but we're so new with it, and it was all so new, and we weren't registered for core supports when COVID started either.
Right.
So if we had been registered for core supports, we would have with those NDIS participants, but they were also the most likely ones to pull the pin because they're more vulnerable.
Gotcha.
So we just went, there's too many grey areas, be on the safe side, when gyms are locked down, we're locked down.
Okay.
Even if we had some people telling us we can.
Yeah. So even as mobile trainers, you
we could still do quite a lot with mobile, but I guess comparing our unique NDIS business to any other random mobile PT, we followed the same rules they had to follow.
Yeah.
Because who the heck knew the right answer?
Oh, look, it was obviously a unique period that hopefully none of us will ever go through again. But so we did kind of touch on it, but the next 5 years for you is just really consolidating what you're doing.
So
do you intend to advocate for more for
that's
disability?
definitely pushing to a lot more. So we won Fitness Franchise Group of the Year last year. We're in the finals, most inclusive and diverse this year at the Oz Active Awards. So we'll see how we go there.
Yeah.
Definitely growing more as franchises. We're growing quite fast at the moment because it's such a unique thing, and we're so well established. And to meet some of those amazing, huge brands for Fitness Franchise Group of the Year is obviously pretty awesome. So we want to keep growing, but it's always about keeping the quality.
Yep.
You know, we're 30-something franchises across 9 cities now in 10 years. So that's not fast compared to some of the things we see, but it's the right speed because let us keep the quality the whole time and look after our people the whole time. So it's always got to be looking after our people first and foremost, and then we grow as fast as we can within that. And then yes, advocating for what we're doing as well. That's a really big part of it.
Yeah.
We launched Disability Fitness Australia recently, and that's sort of really to connect the two disability sector and the fitness sector more in the areas that we don't yet do with Fit Your Ability. So that's super exciting to sort of go, well, what is our industry not doing well enough? Can we do it?
Yeah, well, I think we touched on the Italics Fitness start of the podcast. I think, you know, you're really trying to make fitness accessible to the people who really need it, and that includes people with and without ability issues. What's your favourite part of what you do? What do you enjoy the most about what you do?
I guess seeing the life-changing impact you can make on someone, and I think all personal trainers are going to say that, and that's huge, right? I mean, we've even still got our first client with us, 25 years of training.
Wow.
So yeah, we've got lots of them.
And your mum.
20 years. And my mum.
That's success.
And my wife's mum as well. My mother-in-law, she trains too.
Even more
but there's a room I just get tortured every week, which is true. So, but that's the thing, right? You know, if it's a credible business, you should trust your family with as much as a stranger, right? If you're doing that. So, yeah, so I guess helping people and seeing those life changes, and just, it's not about who can run the fastest or lift the biggest or get the most, certainly not who can get the most followers on social media. It's seeing someone's entire life change because of the work we've had for them. I think most personal trainers can relate to that, but for me it was going bigger than that. It's going, when I hear of someone I've never even heard of that's in another city who's been training with us, the disability experts, I love that reason. We'll get people coming up and saying, I've been training with whoever for 2 years, and it's amazing, they've changed my life, absolutely amazing, and then I don't put my face in everything, so they don't know who I am until I say who I am.
Yep.
And then they're like, oh my God, it's amazing. And we're all going, you're amazing. No, you're amazing. That's awesome. But if it's such a big impact that I don't even know about half the impact that's going on, that's huge. Because, you know, having a life-changing impact on one town is one thing, but doing it on a whole country, that's a whole nother level. And then I extend that to our franchisees too, because this is their business. So they've got, you know, our best ones have got the same passion to their business that I do to my business. So seeing them having a 10-year relationship with us doing that, then that's huge. That's what we do it for.
Yeah. Well, I think we've kind of covered most of what I wanted to cover. It's really cool that you're enjoying what you're doing. I think what you do inspires a lot of other people. And I think the obvious thing that people would say is, oh, so simple, done NDIS. Even if you wanted to jump through the hurdles of that, tell me, you know, why would someone want to be a partner with you?
Yeah, I guess with us, I think for us, when we get franchise inquiries, a lot of the time they've had 1 or 2 clients on the NDIS, because it can take some people as an unregistered provider of what it's called, and they've gone, they see limitations and they go, I'd like to do this more, how do I get registered? And to get registered's a big deal. It's very expensive. It's very time consuming. If you've got to change your whole business around it. It's taken us 6 years to get where we are, and we're already a national company before we did this. It's also too, by the time you then go through and actually get all your paperwork all sorted, get things set up, hire an external auditor at many thousands of dollars to come and audit you, then get their approval, which there'll be, minor compliance issues and major issues and so on too. That always happens. And then they submit it to the NDIS. It takes about a year for that to come back with NDIS registering you.
Yeah, wow.
So you hear people the whole time going, "Oh yeah, I'm just going to go do it." It's not that easy. It's a big job, and that's just to get registered. To actually build a business out of it, it's a whole other story. And people just don't realise how hard it is. And I would say that's true in any business thing, right? It's so easy to just look at any business, local coffee shop, whatever, and go, "Oh, I could do that better. I could go and do that." And people just don't get it.
Yeah.
And then when you throw into that the element of government paperwork as well, sure, getting paid by the government's pretty awesome, not going to lie, but it's not just easy. It's really, really tough. So for our people that have often had one or two clients on the NDIS that found that really our ideal person, that's tick their boxes the most with what they enjoy doing. They go, "I want to help more people like this. How can I do that?" And they pretty quickly stumble across us, and they talk to us about it. And if it's a natural connection, then that's when they come on board normally.
Yeah. Well, I think we touched on it a little bit before, but the age of the website, I think you've got something like 2,000 or 3,000 individual pages, if I'm not wrong. On
More.
But in terms of Google rankings and the like, again, I'm no expert in this area, but my understanding is that the more search words that you have related to your pages brings a bigger audience. I think you've really set yourself as an authority in this sort of area. Can you kind of touch on some of that? And again, I think this leads to why somebody would want to be a partner with you.
And I guess with this is really just good marketing, right? This is whether the NDIS registered or not. This is good marketing, and this is what a lot of people should be doing with this. The NDIS registration is a whole different thing. And again, we could still just be fitness enhancement NDIS registered PTs, but from a branding and awareness and a marketing angle, we're figurability.
Yep.
So it always really comes back to that. So yeah, I guess for us, and from a Google perspective, and that's evolved a lot over 25 years as to what Google is and what ranks you and what doesn't rank you. But at the end of the day, if you come back to providing quality, helpful content, we're in Nerang on the Gold Coast. If someone's searching personal trainer Nerang, a page talking about personal trainer Nerang is probably more likely to rank than a page talking about personal trainer Surfers Paradise, because that's a different area.
Yeah.
But of course, we then have a page that says personal trainer Surfers Paradise. And we've been in business in Surfers Paradise for a couple of decades. So we're going to rank pretty great. So then when we launch a new city, same deal. We just make more and more pages, all the pages we service. And it's a big job, but at the end of the day, if you're giving your customer what they want and making it good for them, then that's one of the biggest things. So from there, we've obviously then got a separate website for figurability, and then now it's then extending a lot more into all the blogs and articles around that. So many people Googling, can people with a disability do boxing? So we have a web page on it. Providing, not a sales page, a helpful, genuine content. That wants me doing the boxing martial arts ones because of my background, and going, here's how you can do boxing, even if you have a disability, here's how you can do it. Here's what to look for if you're going to a boxing gym. Here's how to do it at home. Now, if that's too much, hire us. Here's who we are. And if you're providing that helpful content, then, from a purely salesy point of view, it's going to smash rankings on Google. From helping people, it's going to genuinely help them. And then there's going to be a certain amount of those people who go, well, you're the industry expert, why wouldn't I use you guys?
Well, it becomes a natural gateway, I suppose.
Yep.
And as you kind of built up that authority in that space.
And that's the thing, right? You've got to rank great on Google, like Yahoo Google says you are, right? But then you see so many businesses who then drop the ball from that too, because then the potential client rings, they don't answer, because plumber or personal trainer who answers their phone every single time, almost no one, and they go, stuff it, call the next person on Google. So in our case, we then have one of our team in our office here. They're answering the phone for our PTs. They're taking the new inquiries. We're their sales team, marketing team, whatever. They're all PTs experiencing the NDIS as well. So then we're doing that. So we don't miss any of those steps. I think, any business can't afford to miss key steps within their business success, and that's what so many people do. They find it a number one ranking on Google, and they don't answer their phone.
Wonderful. Well, Scott, obviously, I feel like I've learned a little bit more about what fit your ability is. I think you've helped and are helping a lot of people look at what training with disability means and highlighting that course.
Yep.
I a big fan of the work that you're doing. So thanks for being on the show today. If people want to reach out to you, where's the best way to reach out to Scott Hub?
Yeah, so through our website, the best thing, go to the Fitness Enhancement or the Fit Your Ability website. That will lead to the same page about jobs and franchising and so on. If you're trying to get me personally, Facebook from social media is probably my best spot. And yeah, reach out and we've done a lot of webinars on how you can be a more inclusive business and so on. So I'd love to share those around and so on. And just, love to get people on board with us. But regardless of that, love to see our industry be more inclusive. So that way people really truly see that our diverse industry is truly diverse to everyone, not just people who can walk into a gym.
Love it. All right, that's another episode, and that is a wrap.